Good morning to all. Thank you for joining to the day 4 of Video Foundation course. Today is the last day of our 4-day series of training, and we will be talking about the VMS RAID, and we will talk about control room selection, monitors, features, what's available. Um, in the scope of a Video Foundation course, we will be covering all of these topics today, and then depending on our coverage, we would also cover some fundamentals of networking. Okay, all right. So we will start with the VMS, and before that, where we left off from yesterday was what's the difference between your typical recorder, network video recorder, compared to a VMS application. One of the key difference between them that we understood yesterday is an NVR is similar to a mini VMS or a small VMS. It has a database. It is an all-in-one device with recording and client. It can handle 64 cameras. It can handle recording of 64 cameras again. It has two monitor outputs for displaying the video, live video playback, and the operator control is available all in one device. Then came VMS is when you want to manage multiple NVRs centrally. The word central is important. You are able to centrally have access to all the NVRs, which means you log in to the VMS and then you have access to all the cameras connected to VMS across your projects or across your property. Okay. Now, some vendors charge licenses for it. Some vendors do not charge licenses for it. Some vendors have a more feature-rich VMS. Some of them have a lighter version of their VMS, especially dedicated for NVRs. They are called viewing applications to centrally manage multiple viewers. For us, we have both. Both are free to use when you purchase our Hanwa NVRs. Some vendors give you viewing application free, but as a VMS, they might charge licenses for it. Okay. Okay, so if you have any questions, please post in the chat window or in the Q&A window. We will answer them as we go along. Um, if you want to unmute your mic and ask a question, I believe today we can, if time permits, we can do this after the 2-hour session. Okay, great. So the benefits of NVR is good for smaller projects because it does not take much of your time to identify which server specification is compatible. It doesn't take time for you to do the installation, and it doesn't require a lot of cost to purchase licenses. So NVR is your easy to go solution. Sometimes you go buy a coffee to go, something like that. When you go to a site, you have, let's say, 30 cameras. You want to deliver that project in the easiest time, in the fastest time possible. Second point, the projects of 30 camera nature, they don't want a complex system to maintain in the long run. Sometimes when you deliver a large server for a 30 camera project, and the person operating that may not have the knowledge to handle any kind of Windows related issues or basic troubleshooting. So NVR doesn't have those issues. Simply, it is It's a proprietary hardware. NVRs are typically proprietary hardware, and you can only use the function that it is pre-configured for. You cannot uninstall some. You cannot plug your USB and change the application or watch a movie there. No, it is not possible. It is pre-configured hardware for a set of functions, and that's it. Okay. Do I have to connect? Okay, I have a question. Do I have to connect the VMS to every NVR in large projects? I did not fully understand. Do I have to connect the VMS to every NVR in large projects? Yeah, it is good to have a VMS in a large project where you have maybe 10 NVRs. The operator can centrally manage all the NVR. Now I'm going to show you all of that very shortly. So let's quickly go through this. Okay, now the recording NVRs are typically Linux based, and that's one good reason of reducing the cost. Although it is Linux, you have, I mean, yesterday I showed you how we access the NVR through the web page. You can access, you can use your Windows application PC. Sorry, you can use your Windows PC, install the viewing application, and view the NVR. So just because the NVR is Linux does not make it um, super technical that a person cannot uh, access the NVR. It's not like that. It is easily accessible over your Windows PC or a web browser or so on. Okay. Now, recorders are available in two fashion, Linux or Windows. In CCTV, okay, some of you come from IT background, I understand that. Within CCTV there are two options available again in the recording where you dump the storage of the cameras, Linux or Windows, both are available. Okay. And back in the time, Linux was very popular because IT was not involved in security. CCTV system was a separate system and IT was a separate system. And the CCTV system, the person working in CCTV did not study how to configure a server, did not study how to install Windows, does not know how to do failover and database and related stuff. So Linux was very easy for them because everything was pre-configured. All they have to do is click a few buttons and yeah, failover is activated. Yeah, redundancy is activated. RAID is configured. Yeah, it's already pre-installed with the VMS software. So uh, those days to achieve such redundancy, let's say 8 to 10 years back, when redundancy and failover were the big words, and security was a separate department, having a Linux with pre-installed, pre-configured system was very easy. But today, with the involvement of IT and people becoming more technically savvy and comfortable with these words, comfortable with installing complex systems, things have shifted to Windows. Even CCTV, majority of the recording servers today are available in Windows-based systems. Especially large projects are now more inclined towards Windows-based recording servers. Okay. All right. The flexibility is you can reuse the hardware. Second thing, there are good support systems available now with Dell, for example, same day service or the next day replacement if there is an issue. So that is one. Second, you get to choose what processor you require for your for your site. Let's say you have a very good relationship with HP or Dell, and then you can decide which recording server you will install for your site. You have a uniform agreement for all the IT servers, so you can leverage more of your purchasing power with one vendor for better pricing, better support agreements. All of this was made possible. So it large projects are now slowly inclined towards Windows with more involvement of IT managers in this decision making. Okay, so other than that, overall we saw about DAS, NAS, and SAN. Now let's see about VMS a bit more in detail. Where is it? Here we go. Okay. All right. The VMS is a software, video management software or video management system. It's a software that is used. It's a vendor agnostic software, which means, actually speaking, it's a hardware agnostic, uh, which means you can install the VMS software in any hardware. It could be your laptop, it could be your server. Depending on where you install, the capacity will increase. If you install in a high-end server, you can handle more cameras, more clients, more throughput, more bandwidth is available, and depending on the hardware, the capacity increases. Okay. Now, uh, VMS can be used to centrally manage cameras or NVRs. Why NVR? Cameras are connected to NVR, so you can manage all the NVRs together, or you can directly connect with the cameras. You don't need NVR in between. You can directly connect with the cameras and assign where it should record. You will probably buy a third-party storage or servers with built-in storage you can use for recording. Okay, another main purpose for using a VMS is to integrate with other solutions, access control solution. When there is a video alarm, let's say, sorry, when there is an access control alarm, access denied, access granted, you need a pop-up with a video. So integration is now made possible when you use VMS when you use VMS application. Okay, I got your point. Gassim, I will explain your point very shortly. Yeah, I got your point. I got your question. I'll explain that. Okay. Now, before we again dwell into the VMS, just remember a VMS is a combination of multiple applications. Okay. Just like an NVR, a VMS is a combination of a database application, a recording application, and a client application. Database application, recording application, and client application. Your recording application, you can use, swap it with a NVR, it's fine. For the recording, you can purchase a Windows-based recording server, that is fine. Database, you will have a separate server with a capacity to handle 2000 cameras, and client, you will have a separate client machine with multiple graphics card to handle four cameras, four monitors, sometimes six monitors, depending on the capacity of the VMS software. Okay. Now, VMS simply is an extension of your NVR concept. Okay, NVR, when you look at it, don't look at it as just a recorder. It is a mini VMS, which is a combination of all these applications running in one device. An enterprise VMS is where you split the applications. You have a separate server handling database, so you can go up to 2000 camera, 10,000 camera in a single database. You have multiple servers for recording, so a dedicated, okay. You have one server for 300 cameras, or you'll buy another dedicated server for another 300 cameras, so you will scale it depending on your requirement. Then you have a separate client PC depending on the number of monitors that you require. Now let's jump to the schematic and get a better picture. So here I have cameras connected to the network switch, done. The cameras are connected to the network switch, done. The cameras are now recording on recording servers. All right. They can be from HP, they can be from Dell or Lenovo or Huawei, or it could be any recording servers. You can buy these. Okay. Then the recording servers can have built-in storage called dash storage, or the recording servers can have external storage from NAS or SAN. All right. How many cameras are being recorded? That depends on the recording server. If I buy a Xeon processor with a 32 GB RAM, I could probably record up to 300 cameras. Okay. And then the built-in hard disk, maybe it has only 16 slots, not enough. You can buy a separate SAN storage for all the recording servers as one central extended storage. Maybe you want to record 180 days. There are regions in Abu Dhabi or projects in Abu Dhabi recording 180 days. So you will have a separate storage network. all the recording servers will initially record for some time and then additionally record on central storage. Okay, done. Then all the recording servers are managed by a management server or database server. Okay, they call it. You can call it the central core application server, or there are different words: core server, or it could be called management server, or it could be called um, the core media gateway server. There are different words each vendor uses. We use the word core server. Let's say Pelco, they use the word core media gateway server. And if you take Milestone, they would use the word management server. Um, the recording server can have different words. Some vendors call it archiving server. So there are different words used for it, but it could all simply represent the same thing. Okay. Now let's understand what is the purpose of the database. The database has all the credentials of cameras. It has all the IP addresses of the cameras. It will also save all the events from the camera, camera online, offline, camera motion detected, analytics event detected, all of the database of that camera's events and its IP addresses is saved in the central database. Okay, done. What about recording? Recording server is managing the location of the recording of each camera, which hard disk it is being recorded. So if you ask for a specific timeline to play back, the let's say from the client, you're asking, I want to play back at 5 p.m. So it goes back, the request goes to the recording server, which will identify that particular camera from which hard disk and pull out the data and send it to you. So the recording server is also doing some kind of management of its cameras. So each recording server can handle around 300 cameras, let's say. So it will manage those 300 cameras, where it is being stored, in which hard disk it is being stored, and what basis it is recorded, continuous recording, or is it recording on motion, is it recording on event. So that kind of management is done individually by the recording server. Okay, now uh, as a viewing, as an operator, the operator will have the operator application or console application or client application or a viewing application. There are different words for it. It represents the same thing. So the main client application, if you log in as an admin, you will have access rights to add camera or delete camera. But if you log in as an operator, you will have access to the viewing of the system. You can do live view, playback, export. You can, but you cannot add camera if you're just a viewer. If you log in as an admin, you can probably change the name of the camera, you can change some layouts, you can have access to those functions. Okay, now this is your typical CCTV system. Now on top of a typical CCTV system, you can expand with third party integration. So you can see the where's my mouse, here we go, third party integration. So once you have your CCTV system set up, okay, you can integrate this system with third party. So eyes on the area, let's say gate barrier. The gate barrier is opening and you want the camera to pop up whenever there is a car entering. You will integrate that alarm with CCTV, so you get a pop-up. Access control, someone forced the door open without showing the access card, you want the camera to pop up. Fire alarm, you want to pop up all the fire exits. So you need eyes on the area when there is an event from third party. Perimeter alarm, you want eyes on the area, you want to pop up a camera, thermal camera or a standard camera, you want to pop up. So you want the camera to react based on an event from third party, that is third party integration. Then now at the bottom you can see there are 5 guard operators. So if you have 5 guard operators, you will install 5 PCs with 5 client applications. Okay, the client application, when he logs into the database. Okay, when he logs into the database, the client application will check the user right. Operator 1, he can access all the camera, and he can access maybe 2 cameras he cannot access, sensitive area. So The database checks the privileges of the operator, what he can do to the system, what level of access he has to the system. So that exactly what happens depending on the user rights. Okay, now done. Now all of these operators, they have access to only their monitors. Okay, now let's say they want to share a monitoring space. You can have a video wall where each of these operator can have access to the camera directly on the monitor wall. Maybe there is um, probably, let's say, all the entrances, all the critical exits, all the main events. Let's say there is an event, there is an event, and you want all the operators to have access to the cameras. You can have a central monitoring video wall where you can throw the critical cameras and you can have it monitored by all the operators. Okay. Now we'll come to this part slowly, but simply put, a video wall, there can be two applications for it. One just for CCTV, or you can have a video wall with CCTV cameras. You can have a video wall with a dashboard for all the network devices, whether they're online, offline. You can have another dashboard for your BMS and fire alarm and access control and intercom and third party systems. You can have a video wall for all the systems together, or you can have a video wall just for CCTV. So the video wall is dependent on the customer requirement. Okay, done. We will touch upon it as we go forward. Now let's step back and have a look at how the VMS uh, behaves. So here, let me see. Yeah. Okay, I hope all of you can see my screen now. I am logged into our VMS to just give you a brief overview of what you can expect. Okay. Now what you look at is your VMS interface. In the VMS interface, the camera tiles, the central tile, this is called the camera layout or layout window. Each of this is called a cell. The group of cells is called a layout. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 by 4 layout. Okay, and that means there are 16 cameras that can be displayed. There are 16 cells. So I can drag and drop from my camera tree listed on the left side. This camera tree can be grouped into first floor, second floor, third floor for easy, easy recalling of cameras. That is one option. So let me pull it here. Camera one, camera two. I can use my keyboard, Control Shift, or I can just select all, drag, live view, right? Now this is my live view, and there is also one more way. You just click on the server, all the cameras in the server will start to display. Okay. Then how to do playback. At the bottom, there is a timeline window available. Timeline window. Okay. Click on the button called live button. It will switch to playback. Now, um, all the cameras are now playing back to a central time. So let's say if I'm at 11:25, all the cameras are playing back at the same time. At 11 o'clock, at 10:54, at 10:47, all the cameras will play back at that particular time. When you switch to live, it goes back to live. Now, you might think, why am I showing my VMS or our company VMS? Frankly speaking, every VMS you cannot design just like we please. A vendor cannot design a VMS as he pleases. There is a guideline um, from the uh, there is a standard or a guideline based on which the VMS companies must design. Okay, as an operator, the user interface should be friendly. As an operator, the user interface should be intuitive. It should not be too complex. Everything should be available within a few clicks, and how the alarm should be related. So you will find almost every VMS will be similar fashion. Camera tree on the left side, timeline at the bottom, and camera layouts at the center. And on the right side, you may have alarms. Some of them may not have, but here in this VMS, there is alarms on the right side. As and when alarms are occurring, they are being displayed on the right side. If the camera picks up a photo of a person, it will show up on the right side. You can hide it. You can hide it if you are not interested in any of this. Okay. Then on the top left, there will always be some kind of shortcut buttons or control panel. Even on the when you right click, you will have some control options available. Okay, most of the control option is take a snapshot immediately. When you're seeing some incident, take a picture. Okay, done. It is saved to your image files. Take a printout. What you're seeing. Okay, I want to take a printout of this layout and type some reason for printing this. Reset all my alarms. Change the layout. Change the layout to 132. Change the layout to 3 by 3. Change the layout as you like. Delete all the cameras in the layout. Speak to a camera. Open the microphone to speak to a camera. Check the information. So this is diagnostic information about each video. So what is the bandwidth coming through? What are the frame rates coming through? What is the resolution being displayed? If it shows red, what is the network loss? So if it shows red, so that means there is a network delay. Okay. And then there are full screen options. You can display in full screen and so on. Okay. Let me see if there are any further questions. Okay, not yet. Okay, next. Right now, what you're viewing, you can call it as your monitoring window or your monitoring tab. At the top, there will be options to create multiple monitoring tabs. So I can create another monitoring tab, just like you create a tab in your browser, and you can click, hold, and drag the tab to another monitor. You have two monitors, you can drag and drop there, and this can have a separate set of cameras. Now, once you have set up the cameras, you can go to the layout button at the bottom. You see the layout button, select, you can save your own layout as a user layout. Let's say this operator is interested in these cameras, or he is responsible for these cameras at certain areas. He can make his own private layout, and he can call it, this is my layout, morning layout, afternoon layout, or evening layout, lunch layout. So he's monitoring those pantry cameras and corridors and so on. So he can make his own private layouts, but there is also an option called shared layout. Shared layout means you can create a layout in the database and everyone can have access to this. So it's already pre-configured. So I have here 2 by 2 layout already pre-configured, and this is a shared layout. It is saved in the database. Wherever the user logs in, he has access to this based on his privileges. Okay, we will come to this. uh, okay, so at the left side now you have camera list, you have shared layouts, and okay, let's see how we export. Okay, at the bottom there is this button. You can click live view, and okay, let me take an export, playback, and there is the export button. Looks like a CD-ROM. Click on the export button. Oh, by the way, you see the timeline here. The timeline will have colors. Each of the events are displayed in colors, and these colors can be customized for each type of event. Motion as red, video loss as something else, and analytic tamper alarm as something else. You can customize the colors also. All right, now when you do playback, you can play back the video at certain speed. You remember fast forward, and you can play back at a faster speed. You can also rewind at a faster speed up to 128 times or 64 times depending on the the camera or the recording system. Okay, now let's see how do we export. When you click on export, there is an option called export video, and there are two ways to export your video. One is your open format. Most of the VMSs always support a basic open format, AVI format or MP4 format or MKV format, lossless video format. So you have that, or they will have a proprietary format called SEC or NOP, or they will have their own proprietary format. Why do they have proprietary? Because they want to. Okay, I will come to that. Is there any questions so far? Okay, if you have any questions, let me know. All right. So open format. First, you select the cameras. At the bottom, you can just adjust the timeline, or you can enter the timeline manually. So all of this you should expect in a typical VMS. You can adjust the timeline from what time to what time you want to export. Okay, and all right, and then you put password. So when you put in a proprietary format, you can put password for your video file. So no, someone else cannot open it without playing without inserting the password or entering the password. They cannot open the video file. It is locked. Okay, and you can check if the video file is tampered with. If there is any tampering done, someone changed the video file, modified the video file, it will have come with a built-in tamper check. So that is called secure format, or AVI format. It's an open source, anyone can play using VLC or GOM player. You can use a third-party player to play the video files. Okay. Okay, when you use a proprietary format, the playback file will look similar to how you see on your VMS. You can play back two cameras side by side, three cameras side by side, 16 cameras side by side, just like a VMS you can play back. But when you export in AVI, you will export each camera as a separate video file. Okay, so you cannot play side by side. When you play movies, you don't play movies like this side by side. You don't play that way. You don't play 16 cameras side by side. AVI format, VLC don't play videos like this. They will play separately one by one. So if you use proprietary video player, you have the option to see multiple cameras on a side by side, and you will get a timeline like this, and you can play back all the camera at the same time. So that extra features you will get in proprietary players. Now the proprietary player, when you export, it will come with the player also. It will come with the proprietary player as well. Okay, let me see. Okay, next is okay. There are many features. There are options where you can change language. You go to settings. You can change to multiple languages. So your local language, French, Arabic, uh, and Spanish, all these languages will be available. You can customize your interface as you like. Then when you go to configuration, you have the option. This is a VMS. Now I am logged in as admin. I am in the configuration window. Now I'm going to access or add or delete camera, add or remove NVR. I can do this because I logged in now as admin. Okay, so when I logged in as admin, at the bottom, I have option here called register camera device. So let me close register camera device. So it discovers all the cameras in my network. You can discover on with cameras. You can add manually camera from certain IP range to a certain IP range. You can add. You can also add camera via DDNS. So we will see that today. What is DDNS? Over the internet also you can add cameras. That is one. Next is you can add NVR. At the bottom, there is a device. You can add XRN, PRN. These are network video recorders. You can add NVR also directly. So in my VMS now, I have added cameras and then I have added NVRs. You can do that in a VMS. So whatever cameras or channel 1, channel 2 is attached to the NVR will also be added to my VMS. Okay. At the VMS, failover is just a click of a button. Here I have only one server. I can add multiple servers, recording servers or to my VMS, and I can say server 2, you're a failover server, and you can put priority, which camera should failover first, which camera should failover second. So that can be customized. Okay. Now in my VMS, my VMS, I have right now a recording server. In the server, I have added cameras directly. Okay, I have added through NVR also, but I have added cameras directly. So I can record the cameras on my VMS server or the recording server. So I can say the camera, all these cameras, they should record at which resolution, they should record at what frame rate, should record at 20 frames. These cameras, I can even do bulk selection and change the resolution. I can customize what resolution to record. Okay, and then I can customize each camera, what schedule to record continuously or record for how many days. So currently I put all the cameras to record for only 3 days. So after 3 days it will get deleted, but I can expect with my current hard disk capacity up to 7 days. Then I can put recording schedule. I can customize this. You can say um, Sunday. Sunday, I want to record only during motion. I want to record in the in the night time. During alarm input, when I should record, when it should record continuously. So it can get too complex when you dive deeper and deeper. Okay, that's why you enroll in VMS training. That's why you enroll in VMS certification, because you want to get the full feature at your fingertips for the system. Okay, so now I go here, I first create schedule. I can say day schedule is so on from what time to what time. So here I will say this is my schedule one. It is from so and so time to so and so time. Apply and so on. Close. So motion detection will occur only in schedule one. So only during daytime it will do motion detection. So like that you can keep on customizing for each day, and not only for each day. And then once you do it for each camera, you can customize when to record, how to record, and so on. Okay. Event. Not only that, if you're doing only based on event, you can say if a motion occurred, before the motion occurred, keep a recording for at least 1 minute. Okay. After the motion occurred, keep the recording for 20 minutes. Before analytic alarm, keep for so and so. After it happened, so and so. Or before camera goes offline. Let's say you're not recording continuously, you're only recording based on event. So you can keep a buffer of 1 minute video. So if before it goes offline, there will be at least 1 minute of recording. So all this is customizable per recording server, per camera. So you can do this. Then each camera you can choose which resolution to record. Then each camera you can choose which hard disk to record. So currently in this server, I have I have only two drives. I can attach a SAN drive, network drive, and I can assign which cameras to record in which drive, D drive, which all cameras should record. So I can even customize that. So these all you can do as an admin once you log in and into the VMS. And when you go to user, you can create more admin users. So under admin group, I can create another admin with his username, password, and so on. Or I can create a new group called operator group. And on the right side, I can customize which access he can get. Only live view, only playback, and he cannot access the configuration menu, so he cannot add or remove cameras. And in the camera, which camera he can access, that you can do. Which layout, shared layouts he can access, you can do that. Which maps he can view, you can do that. All this is customizable per group. And you can make a temporary group which is valid for a certain period. All right. So back to monitoring. And the monitoring, the cameras are being listed as one straight line. You can say I want to view by group. Abu Dhabi, these many camera, Dubai branch, this camera, so on. I can group the cameras. And under that, I can make subgroups, first floor, second floor. Under that, I can make further groups also. Later on, you can also create mapping. Let's say I want to create a map, and in this map, I have linked to my office in Jebel Ali. So I click on that, it will open my office map, and here I can map the camera, so those cameras video will play. So you get the overall idea. You can link maps, and these are dynamic icon. If some incident occurred, the map will start blinking. Okay, so you can click and get a video from there. Okay, now let's say you want to search for a person's. There are two ways of searching. There is this text search where you search for all the events, or you select which camera or specific camera you are looking for an event. Let's say I'm looking for a camera event from here. I want to search all the events that occurred on that specific camera, who logged in, who logged out. You can filter those events, and when it detected if any kind of motion, it will, you can also play video on the right side, but make sure you have recording during that time. Okay, then there is another search called AI search, which we saw on the, I believe, first or second day we talked about. Yesterday we talked about advanced search, where you can search for AI cameras, you can search for person, search for color of the person, and so on. Today I just activated, so not much data available now. Then there is advanced search. This is called metadata search. Any camera with its metadata you can search. For example, so let's say I have a camera here. So it's night. You can see it's in IR mode. Let's say I want to know who was the first person to enter this area. I hope it was activated. Let's see. Yeah, good. So what I did, I go to advanced search and I click on metadata search and I click on a line. I draw a line and I say any events occurred in this line. I want to know what happened. So I click search. It showed me on the right side all the events that occurred per timeline. So Majboor, you had this question. So here 6:09, there is an event. So someone walked in at 6:09. 8:30, someone came here. 8:30. Okay, what time did I come? 9:15. Okay, so like that you can search all the events that occurred and when it occurred, who came to the training room. So you can do this using metadata search. Okay. So you don't have to play back and check and wait when it occurred and slowly. It takes a lot of effort, right? So you can do this directly using metadata. So any camera from us, any camera with the basic analytics, you can do metadata search. But if you want to do search by color of the car, color of the person, shirt, that is called AI camera. That's different. So that comes under object search. You search for person and you search for gender, clothing, color, and so on. That is different. Okay. All right. So this is not, this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to VMS. Um, then there is something called alarms. How do you handle alarm in a VMS? You can create a separate monitor called alarm monitor. So there is, we have it here. Some VMS may have a different method. So you say this is my alarm monitor. So whenever there is an event, the monitor here, let's say this monitor tab, maybe you have two monitors, you can keep one monitor for alarm. So whenever there is a motion, so this there was some motion detected, it will pop up the camera in this location. So whenever there's a motion detected, it will pop up that camera in that location. Okay, now if you don't want this concept, there is also another method where you can say event, I need a physical pop-up, which means configuration, event action. You can say I want to create an event if any incident occurred in my camera so and so. Let's say camera 1, motion as detected. Okay, close. I want an action. The action should be that camera should pop up. Instant pop up. So you will get a, the advertisement pop up. You will get like that. And you can say, I want the action to start recording. If it's already recording, don't bother. But if you're not recording and you want to record only on event, you can do that. You can start recording. If you have a PTZ camera, you can ask the camera to go to that location. Okay, you can also get a mobile notification. So when you apply this, it will pop up on your screen. You can customize where the pop-up should go. So under event, you can say I need a maximum 3 pop-ups. That should go to monitor number 2, and it should automatically close the pop-up after a certain time, and so on. Now, same way, the events which if you dedicate and if you have a dedicated monitor for alarm, you can also customize it here, and you can say automatically remove the alarm after 20 seconds and show me only critical alarms, video loss or specific alarms. You can do that. On the right side, also the operator can filter. He can say show me only the cameras which are of high priority, not standard. You can customize. And the events, when you go to configuration, you can also customize each event by its priority. Event, priority, color, high priority, low priority, and so on. Now, this is the job of a VMS to make life simple for your operator. So here, good, at least I got a pop-up based on some moment here. So there is a pop-up. You can type some notes and say confirm and close. Okay, and you can export from there. Okay, this is the job of VMS. You have too many cameras and different recorders, you centralize it. Central management, central viewing, central alarm, central control, and central operator management. All this is done centrally. That is your VMS, video management system. Okay. All right. To cover something. Okay. Yeah. There is one more point under events. So let's say instead of motion, you can also have server event. Server disconnected, fan failure, power overload, whatever. You can have server event or NVR disconnected. You can have those kind of events. Camera, video loss event. You can also have that. So you can see multiple events from the cameras available. Screaming event, person detected, tamper detected, line crossing. Each event you can create an action. Okay, so it can get really, it can go into too much detail as you like. You can do that. Okay. Then dashboard. Okay, now when you have too many cameras, too many servers, there is a feature called dashboard. When you click on dashboard, you get an overview of what's going on. What's the current network spike? Uh, Currently, how many cameras at what time has gone offline? Here, total number of cameras 26, but 10 is offline. Total number of server, I have only one, all are okay. I have multiple NVRs, 3 NVRs, one NVR is off. So here, total record, sorry, four, one is off. Four, one server, 36 cameras, 10 is off. I can get more details from clicking the recorder. From each NVR, how many cameras are offline. From each server, how many cameras are offline. Go back from the server side. Okay, how many servers are recording? What is the storage capacity? What is the rate level at the moment? Camera, which cameras are recording? Can take a report also. And yeah, if you want to get it over a web page, you can also get this over a web page. So I hope you got the fair idea of what a VMS job is supposed to do. The VMS job is this, that it should centrally bring in all the data. Done. Then there can be a lighter version. Sometimes some vendors will have light version, premium version, the more features they add, let's say they might add failover as a premium version. Some VMS don't have that concept. Everything included in one package. You pay camera license only. So depends. So if there is a company which is only doing software, they might charge for every add-on. If a company is doing everything, they might just keep it simple and charge you for number of users, sorry, number of cameras that you connect. I know a company that can even charge for how many clients are connected. But majority of the vendors, they give you, they don't charge for client application. Client is free. You can have 5 clients, 10 clients. Of course, there is a capacity, 20 clients or 30 clients per server. If you want, you need to add more recording service. But depends. Every VMS, they have their own way of delivering their product. Okay, selling their product. Okay, and it is not standard. It's one will not be the same with the other vendor, but the way the operation works, it's the same. Okay. Okay, so I wanted to show you one while we talk about it. Camera types. There are different types of camera. The fixed camera. So this is a typical fixed camera. You can have fisheye camera. What is a fisheye camera? It's a circular view, usually installed on the ceiling. It gives a 360-degree fisheye view. Okay, 360-degree fisheye view. Now let's compare this side by side. Okay, this is a fisheye view camera, and I have a camera looking at the entrance. Okay, anyway, this is the camera looking at the entrance only of my training room, and then I have a camera which is a fisheye. The benefit is a fisheye gives you it's called a situational awareness camera. Why is it taking fisheye mode? Okay, so that is called dewarping. Dewarping means you change the mode of the fisheye to you split it into 4 quadrants. So each quadrant you can manually check. Okay, so this is called dewarping. Dewarp. Okay, I'm going to switch off for now to explain what is fisheye. So this is a fisheye view. Just takes one whole snapshot always for the entire view. You can see the training room door at the front side. You can even see the back door. There is the server door. You can see the full windows, the entire layout of the entire room you can cover. But it's not very clear, right? The face of the person, all that is not that perfectly well. The idea of fisheye is to get an overall view. So let's say where am I sitting? I'm sitting here. So yeah, so my face is not that clear, but yeah, it gives you the overall idea of what's going on. So there is no blind spot in this camera. Anybody from any direction is coming in, you can identify where he came from. But if you have a camera only looking at the entrance, you don't know what's happening at the backside. So there is a benefit of both cameras. One can do full 360, the other one is just looking at a fixed scene. Then comes PTZ cameras. PTZ camera allows you to what do you say? Yeah, you can drag and move the camera as you like. I think someone locked it. Okay, let me pull out another one. Sorry, that was not PTZ. Yeah, this is the PTZ camera. So you can move the camera as you like. So okay, let me zoom in. This is how the PTZ camera looks like. Okay. I have 2 cameras mounted and one on the opposite side. This is how it looks like. You can go and do what you like with the PTZ camera. click to center. Wherever you click, that becomes the center. You need to, I open the windows, so I have to turn on WDR. I did not do it. Then you can area zoom. You click a specific area, it will zoom into that area. So you can see what's going on in that particular location. Okay, let me pull out my favorite camera. So this guy is also a PTZ camera with a 55x lens. So if let's say I want to look at the car here, I just drag and make a box, and then okay, let me do here. So then I can go zoom in and see the number plate, and then I zoom out. I can go all the way out. Okay, all this is not. Uh, okay, so then this is a PTZ camera typically, so allows you to have an overview of what's happening uh, in my purview. So let's say if I want to zoom in very far, so there's a nice flag mounted here at around a couple of kilometers away. So you can see that flag. Okay, it's zoom out. I'm viewing through my control, through my office, through the glass. So if there was no glass, it would even be much more clearer actually. So the glass is even tinted. So you get the idea. Uh, so usually PTZ cameras are mounted outside, not inside the office and then looking out. Okay, so you have a fair idea of what's going on. You can read the details over the containers and so on. Yeah, got it. So you have this. So these videos will be deleted. We don't record this just to show you I added this camera. Then after that I take it off. Okay, so this is the objective of PTZ, and to get a better view, okay, there is what happened if some incident occurred. You can go and check, and that's it. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I think we can take a break and then come back for the next topic of designing your control room and other things, RAID and so on. Let us resume the session. Break time is done. Welcome back. So we learned how the VMS operates. What is the functions of VMS? We went through an example. Um, let's see, one second. Okay, yeah, okay. The next topic, redundancy and RAID. Okay, redundancy and RAID. Now, when you look at a schematic of a VMS, okay, when you look at a schematic of a VMS, the cameras recording on the recorders could be 300, 200 cameras, 100 cameras per recorder. All the recorders are centrally connected to this management application, and the client PCs on the right, okay, the client PCs are also centrally connected to the network and linked. Each of them are linked with the VMS for the access rights, for accessing the database. Because when a client is speaking to this, he wants to view the camera, he has to first speak to this management server and check whether he has the rights to view the camera. Okay. Okay. Now, okay. Then comes failover. Failover is required when you have you have a situation where there's a lot of dependency on one hardware. So here, the recorders database of all of them are saved in the management server. The client PC to get the view and playback is also dependent on the management server. So if the management or the main application is dead, your system will collapse, right? Although independently they can work, recorder will work as it is, cameras will work separately, client, no, you cannot access. So here, the clients are losing the live video because they are indirectly connected to the server before speaking to the cameras. Okay. Now, if this main management server is dead, uh, there is a chance that you have lost all the access to the cameras, you have lost access to the NVRs or recorders. So you can have a failover. So in the case of the primary server failure, the services that are running in the primary server will be handed over to the second standby server. Okay. Now, what is failover? When a particular unit dies, it is failing over to another device. That is failover. Okay. You can also have failover in the recorder. There are 300 cameras recording in one server. But what if this recorder fails? You can have another standby recorder here as well. You can have standby recorder if you want. Okay. Now there is another option. You have 6 recorders. One, two, three, four, five, 6 recorders, right? Okay. You can have one standby for all 6. It's called N plus 1 failover, which means you will have one standby recording server as failover. And if any one fails, it will take over that function. Okay. What if 2 fails? It cannot do. It can do only 1. That is why it's called N plus 1 failover. That is one option. If you put a failover for every recording server, it's called N plus N. So you are duplicating 6 plus 6. It's more cost. This is more expensive if you put N plus N. That's why most sites don't have this. The in CCTV commonly failover also is not very commonly asked. If it is asked, the maximum that you have seen is N plus 1. Okay, very rarely I've come across N plus N. Majority of the failover projects require N plus 1. But as a security expert, you can only control the value of N. and you can also misuse. Okay, you can put failover for every 30. That is not really a failover. You cannot put 30 server and one standby. That is not practical. You can put, but that is not useful. Okay, so you have to put a failover for every 8 or every maximum 10 or every 6, every 4. You- Depending on your site sensitivity, you can decide the factor. Okay, or you can put every 500 camera I need one failover recording server. So that means every two, if each is 300 300, every 200, every 500, so that means every two servers I need one standby, or every four servers I need one standby. You got the idea? So that is how you decide for your project. Okay, then we will see RAID. Okay, RAID is redundancy. Okay, so this is within the server. So you have a server. Okay, in the server there are, sorry for this drawing. Yeah, I'm using my PowerPoint pen. So in the server there are, it's very bad. 1 minute. Okay, let's take this. Let's say in my server there are 12 hard disk. Okay, in the 12 hard disk, okay, there's one more point. Okay, redundancy. There is also another point before we start hard disk. Within the server, you can have some level of redundancy. Okay, two power supply. It's called redundant power supply. If one fails, the other takes over and it works, or both will share the load. Then there can be two fans, both can work, but in the worst case, one can handle the capacity of the entire NBR heat dissipation it can handle, or cooling of this NVR it can handle. So it is redundant. Okay, it's like there are two managers but both doing the same job. Okay, so that is redundant. Even if one is not there, it can the company will run with the other one, something like that. So it's two power supply, redundant power supply, two network. Most of them will have at least two. Some will have three, and this one is having four. So it's a redundant network. If even if one network is out, the second network will completely provide all the functions without any issue. So redundancy, this word is redundancy. All right. Here you have two video outputs. These are direct alarm inputs and outputs. Some recorders have direct fiber, SF fiber module, so you can connect your SFP module here. All this we can see later. So this is how this is redundancy. Now inside the recorder there are hard disk. Even hard disk you can have redundancy. Okay, that redundancy is called RAID, redundant array of redundant array of independent disks. Okay, that is RAID, RAID. Okay, now within a NVR or within a recorder, within a storage SAN, you will have group of hard disk. Okay, I have now here 12 hard disk. If one hard disk fails, I lose the recording available in that hard disk. Gone. I lost maybe 1 day recording. Okay, how do you recover this? That process, there is a feature called redundancy. Now the basic method is called mirroring. Okay, basic method is called mirroring, which means if there are um, if there are 12 hard disks in the NVR, the first six will copy the other six. Okay, let's look at this. Let's take another example here, mirroring. Let's say I have 10 hard disks. I can have a copy of another 10. That means the camera will record parallelly in both. Even if hard disk one fails, the same recording is available in the another parallelly recording in another hard disk. So it is available here. Okay, this is called mirroring, but mirroring is very expensive. If you require 500 terabyte, you need to buy another 500 terabyte. If you need 1000 terabyte, you need to buy another 1000 terabyte. And the server also should be sized accordingly. It should be a you would spend more money for this. It's expensive, and the chances of all the hard disk failing at the same time is not there. That is, it's negligible. It's cannot be taken into consideration for most CCTV projects. You cannot say, okay, why I consider mirroring, because what if every hard disk will fail at the same time? That is not going to happen. It can happen rarely. How hard disk fail? They have a life of 7 years, 10 years, some 5 years, and one by one will fail. It will not fail all at the same time. Okay, generally that is how it is happening. So then came RAID. What is RAID? There are RAID 1, RAID 2, RAID 5, RAID 6, different RAID concepts came. What is RAID 5? RAID 5 means you can lose one hard disk and you can replace with a brand new hard disk here. Hard disk number 5 failed. I replaced with a brand new hard disk, and whatever was lost will be recovered, will be restored as if nothing happened. That is RAID 5. Up to one hard disk failure it can tolerate. What is RAID 6? RAID 6 means two hard disks can fail. So here, where is this? Here, RAID 6, hard disk 1, hard disk 2. Two hard disks can fail and you can recover that completely as if nothing happened. Okay. How do you recover? You put a brand new hard disk and then it will recover. It will restore the data, but how it is doing we will see later. Right now, shortly. So before we do this, let's understand how this concept works. What is this RAID concept? Okay, but remember, RAID 5 means in a group, we call the group is also referred as array. The word array. In a group of hard disk, one hard disk can fail. You swap it with a brand new hard disk. It's called hot swappable. You swap it with a new hard disk. While it is powered on, you remove and you swap it with a new hard disk. It will recover the data from some remnants. There will be some recovery bits saved in other hard disk. Some small amount of data will be saved. Using that, it will recover. Now we will see how that works in a layman word. Okay. Now we know 1 plus 1 is 2, right? I'm trying to explain how RAID works. Just remember, just an example. Okay. 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay. Now if is that okay, and hard disk 1 is having the data 1, hard disk 2 is having the another data 1, hard disk 3 is storing data number 2. Okay, 1 plus 1 is 2. What if hard disk 2 failed? You put a brand new hard disk here, so it will try to calculate the value missing. By put it will put the value x, and then x is equal to 2 minus 1. Okay, so here it is 2. 2 minus 1 will give me the value x. 2 minus 1 is value 1. So it will derive the value. Okay. Now, in order to derive the value, you need to have a reference value. What is a reference? X is equal to, the reference is 2 minus 1. So the reference value is 2. If there was no 2, if 2 is not there, 2 is also x, how will you derive? You cannot derive. So some reference value is required to derive this missing data. Okay, that reference value is called parity bits. Okay, parity. In RAID word, it's called parity. So every time a hard disk, how does it write ones and zeros, right? 101010. Every value is written in this way. Every time it writes a value 1, it will keep a reference data somewhere else. In case that data is lost, it will try to recover. So when you use RAID and you need only 10 terabyte, but it will actually record more, close to 11 or 12 terabyte, it will write extra data. Okay, it will write more data for because of the parity bits. Okay, done. And okay, now let's look at this. RAID 5. So here, let's say there are 4 hard disks. It is writing value, first value, then it will not write in the same hard disk all the values. It will write across the hard disk. When you have RAID of a group of when you have RAID and you have it in a group, it will write across the hard disk. So first it will write in hard disk 1, then hard disk 2, hard disk 3, then it will keep a parity. You see here P, parity. In case data is lost, it will try to recover that data. Okay. Same way, every time it writes other values, it will keep a parity bit to recover the lost data. Okay, to recover the lost data. Okay, so this is extra bit of information stored in the same hard disk. That's why when you have three hard disk, okay, that extra information will consume almost one hard disk size of data. Okay, and it is close to 25% to 30% of data will be used just for the rate. Okay, now let's take the Excel example and we will cover that. Oh, here. So I have an array hard disk 1 to 12, each 1 terabyte. There are 12 hard disks. So if I want to activate RAID 5, it will write parity bits, right? That parity bit will be equal to the size of one hard disk. So roughly 1 terabyte, if the total is 12, total is 12 hard disk, each 1 terabyte, total is 12 terabyte. You have to subtract 1 terabyte out from this. You will have effective storage only 11. So that means you can write video for 11 terabytes. The remaining one will be used for parity. If you use RAID 6, two hard disks can fail. So that means it will write dual parity. Every time it writes a value, it will keep dual parity. So parity 1, parity 2. So on the side, you can see one more parity. So dual parity. So that means two hard disk space is required per array. Okay, per array. That word is important. So if the group is 12, within that 12, the size of two hard disk will be gone for the RAID parity. So you can only use 10 terabyte. So when you activate RAID with 12 hard disk, each 1 terabyte, you can only use 10 terabyte. The remaining two will be used by the RAID system. Okay. Now it might look very simple. Imagine RAID array size. If there are 12 hard disk in that array, 12 HDDs, and each HDD is 10 terabyte. Okay. If you use RAID 5, you can the effective storage is only 11 hard disk sizes into 10, which is 110 TB. If you use RAID 6, two hard disk data will be gone. So 10 into 10, 100 TB. So how much have you lost? 20 TB will go for RAID. So you are say you're basically when you use RAID, you have to. It's a bit expensive because you need more storage. Okay, any kind of failover redundancy, of course, is expensive, but to reduce that cost, only RAID came. So, but remember, RAID 5, if you put 120 terabyte, you will only get 110 terabyte. Okay, some amount of data will be gone for the parity bits. Okay. Now, this calculation is only for an estimation. You have to use whenever you go for RAID and you buy the RAID from a vendor, you have to ask that vendor what is the usable, remember this word, what is the usable storage, what is the raw storage. So raw storage is 120 TB because I put 12 hard disk of 10 terabyte, but usable after RAID is only 110 TB after RAID 5. Okay, you have to ask the vendor for this because some vendor will create RAID for every 5 hard disk. So every 5, one will go. So that means if you put 12 hard disk, again 5, one will go. Then you have 2. Okay, they probably 2. You cannot create RAID. So let's say I have 10 hard disk. Every 5 they create one RAID. So that means 4 is usable, 1 gone. 4 is usable, 1 gone. So 8 into 10. Only 80 terabyte you can get, and 20 TB will be gone for RAID parity. Because according to that particular vendor, RAID is 4 is to 1. Every 4 hard disk they will build a RAID parity. Some vendors misuse it. They put every 30 hard disk one RAID parity. We have seen this also in some projects where they have a server with 30 hard disk. It looks like this. Okay, and only one of them will be parity, or what? Okay, one, two, three, four, five, right? 5 and 2, 25 hard disk. For 25, they'll make an array size or group size of 25 and consider RAID 5 here. That means only one hard disk can fail in this RAID 5. Okay, this is too big. That means your ratio is out of 25, you are expecting only one hard disk to fail at a time. This is bigger risk. Okay, better not to consider in this scenario. I will tell you why. When you use RAID, it becomes a group. All the hard disks become as one hard disk. Okay, they act like one. All right, they act like one because they become one big volume. We call it volume. Okay, now that's okay. That's not a problem. The risk is it can handle one HDD failure in RAID 5. Okay, one hard disk failure it can handle. But if one more hard disk fails, because you put the array size 25, right? What if two hard disks fail within a period of 5 minutes? Okay, before you replace, another hard disk failed. In this case, your RAID will collapse. Collapse means lost all 25 HDD data. You lost everything at one shot just because you took more time to replace a hard disk. Before that, another hard disk failed, your RAID system collapsed, you lost everything. Okay. In this case, it is better not to give RAID itself, because if you didn't give, only the hard disk which is gone, only those data will be lost instead of losing everything. When you use RAID, you have to be very careful. You should always keep spare drives, and you should get notification for sure. There is also a new concept called hot spare. That means you plug the hard disk and keep, automatically it will use that hot spare. You don't have to manually come and change the hard disk. It will use that from the system and assign it for RAID. Okay, and disconnect the failed drive. Okay, so this is called hot spare. Some vendors also have this option. Okay, so this is the thing. When you have this kind of system, and when you have large projects, it is better to go with a central storage option where you can manage all the hard disk in one location. You can have hot spares for everything in one location. Don't have to manage each server separately. Okay, excuse me. All right. There are many more things to consider when you use RAID in an array. All the hard disk will act like one array. One will act like one big volume. Okay, they become a group, because if you notice in the picture, the data is not writing in one hard disk at a time. It is writing across the hard disk. So it writes here, then here, 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 then it goes down, keeps on writing across all the hard disk. Everyone is writing at the same time. Okay, everyone is writing at the same time. All the hard disks is working at the same time. Okay, then um, what are the precautions? You have to keep spare. You have to consider good ratio for the array size. You can't say every 50 hard disks I'll give RAID 5. That is not practical. Then all the RAID hard disks should be same size. If even if you put one hard disk as 1 TB, everyone will act according to the weakest link. So because they are all going to work and run together. So imagine if there is a if there is a okay, we have two legs. If we have only one leg, doesn't mean we can walk fast. Okay, so we cannot run. Same way, if there are 10 hard disks, they all work together, 10 legs. Even if one leg is gone, it cannot. Okay, it's like it's lost a wheel. Okay, so even if one hard disk is having lower storage, automatically it will consider every hard disk equal to 1 terabyte. So we have seen some projects where they make mistakes. They will consider some hard is 10, some is 6 TB, some 4 TB, but you cannot and activate rate. Whichever is the lowest hard disk, it will be applied as the common for all. Okay, again, this is not really part of today's training, but just for your information. And also all the hard disk should be same brand, same model, same firmware, same speed, RPM, capacity, everything should be same because they're all working together. One cannot be from different brand, different speed. As much as possible, try to keep as uniform. The hard disk should be as equivalent as possible. Okay. All right. So next is a video wall consideration. Okay, video wall consideration. When you have a lot of monitors in a CCTV, for example, 40 monitors, 16 monitors. Okay. Okay. Hmm. When you have a lot of monitors in CCTV, um, you have to manage just like when you have cameras, you centrally manage with VMS. Similarly, when a control room has too many monitors, you want to centrally manage it. Okay, that is called a video wall management, which means you will have one video wall manager. He can remotely control all the monitors, make it easier. Otherwise, what you do, every PC you have to physically go. Oops, sorry, 1 minute. Yeah, every PC you have to go physically and change the layout. So if I want to change some cameras in monitor number 6, I have to go to PC number 2 and use the keyboard and mouse and change. It is possible. You can do it. Each PC connected to 4 monitors, you can do manually for each PC, but it becomes easier when you have a central manager. That is the purpose of video wall management, where you make one click, entire 16 monitor will change to a different layout in one click. It is possible. Okay, or you can merge one camera across multiple monitors. So you can have your 6 monitors. One camera can be merged across 4 monitors or 6 monitors. So those kind of functionalities you can get. Now, how to consider how many monitors are required and how to position the monitors, we will see shortly. Okay. Okay. Let's say you have a project with 500 cameras. I have a project with 500 cameras. Okay. Now, how to decide how many monitors are required? Okay, so here we go. 500 cameras. How do I consider the number of monitors? This is always a question mark, right? For many of us, how to decide? Okay. Is 10 too much? Is 8 too much? Is 6 okay? Is 4 okay? Um, Now, first and foremost is if that project, do you have an operator there all the time? If no, then don't need more than two monitors. If you have operators and it's a public space, a lot of people coming in, going out, and you want to design a control room, then look at this consideration. Otherwise, don't increase the cost of a project where, let's say it's a residence, there is a watchman and he's supposed to do everything else. Plus, when there is an incident, he will go and check the CCTV. If you're looking for that kind of project, just buy one or two monitors with a PC and you can finish the design. Okay. But for projects where, let's say, shopping mall, and you have public space, exhibition halls, hotels, okay. So those kind of projects, how do you design? Okay, here we go. So let's say I have 500 cameras in the project. You need to identify which cameras are critical. What is a critical camera? Identification cameras are critical cameras. All the entrances are critical cameras. Mhm. Then all the ground floor cameras, the first area of entry of the guests is critical cameras, right? So those kind of cameras, let's say the ground floor area, you can consider 10 to 15% of the project cameras are critical. Okay. Now, when you have identified those, keep it as critical percentage around 15%. The bigger the project, the lower the percentage of cameras that are critical. If you have 100 floors, there is only one ground floor. So that is only 10%. So depending on the project size, you have to consider the criticality percentage. But as an average, from your experience, you can come up with this. Take 5 projects you quoted in the last couple of months, and you will see how many cameras are on the ground floor. And most of those cameras will be like critical cameras, all the entrances, all the main drop off areas, all the main reception desks. All these are critical areas which you can use. Of course, there are some emergency exits here and there that you have to consider, gate barriers you have to consider, and so on. So roughly 10 to 15% is critical cameras. Okay, less critical. Okay, I wouldn't say not important. It's less critical. It is also important. Those also you will monitor. Okay, those you consider as a remaining. Okay, so 15% critical is 75 cameras and the remaining are 425 cameras. This is the most efficient method of designing. You can also make it more monitors. Nobody is here to stop you. If you have the budget, the control room is very big. You can put one monitor for every 20 camera. It's up to you. But this design is trying to make it as efficient as possible. Okay. So here we have 425 cameras, which is less critical. Okay. Now, if you remember in the VMS, which I logged in and showed you, I showed you the cells and tile and layout, right? So you can view, you can say these critical cameras will be always fixed on a monitor. No one is going to touch that monitor. It will always show 25 cameras fixed, fixed view. Okay. It is not going to change at any point. Fix it. Okay. 5 by 5. So if you use that fixed view of 5 by 5, only 25 cameras are being displayed. So if you have 75, you need at least 3 monitors fixed to cover all the critical cameras. The remaining you have how many? 425. The 425 you can see in 5 by 5 again. All right, you will see 25 cameras at a time, but you will not keep it as fixed view. You will do sequencing. Okay, what is sequencing? Okay, let's watch the video. Sequencing means after a couple of seconds, the layout will automatically change. Okay, let me first create the layout. I created here 2 layouts. Then I create a sequencing layout one for 10 seconds and layout 2 for 10 seconds. Layout 1, layout 2, each 10 seconds. I'll give a name and then I click OK. Okay, now when I click on the sequence and I play, first 4 cameras are getting displayed, and then automatically after 10 seconds the remaining cameras will be displayed. Then again after 10 seconds the remaining cameras will be displayed. So it will keep on switching. Okay, so within 1 minute, if you keep switching 6 times every 10 seconds, within 1 minute, 150 cameras will be covered. Okay, so if you cover 150 cameras and you have 425 within I mean, each monitor 150 cameras. So three monitors, you can cover the remaining. Three monitors, you can cover the remaining 425 cameras. So totally, how many you need? Six monitors, three for fixed critical view, the remaining three for sequencing. Got it? Okay, now this is for the video wall. On top of this, it would be recommended that you have additional two monitors minimum for your supervisor to do exporting of video, change some settings, or do some investigation and so on. Okay, now how do you assign which view to be shown? You should keep it as similar as possible. So in one sequencing of monitor, you can keep all the staircases, here all the corridors and emergency exits. Sorry, all the corridors you can cover. These can be miscellaneous areas you can cover. So it has to be around that same area, parking areas. So try to keep the layout format in a very uh, similar area, so the operator is not confused. Okay. Okay, let's go back here. A scene is what the operator is looking at, and it should be cohesive. It should be similar. Okay. Then, okay, the next point is the operator's capability to identify an alarm or an incident. Okay, let's say the operator is looking at the monitors for a certain amount of time. Eventually, he will lose interest and his detection capacity will start to reduce. The first and foremost is you cannot hire anybody for the operator because he should be vigilant enough to detect any abnormality. Secondly, you should also consider uh, the number of monitors that an operator will be looking at. Okay, and his detection score, as you increase the number of monitors, will reduce because he cannot see all 9 monitors at the same time. Okay, now that's why analytics are important. It will improve the detection score. How? Okay, let's see. Okay, now let's say the operator is looking at the monitor. Let's say there are 4 monitors, and suddenly he notices in one monitor something abnormal is happening. Okay, now he will focus on the fourth monitor and he will analyze the scene, and then the time that is required to analyze and decide that there is an incident, let's say it takes around 10 to 20 seconds for him to decide. So that amount of time can be completely eliminated with the help of analytics because the camera itself is doing that job for you instead of the operator manually doing. So with this and having a separate alarm monitor, the detection capacity for the operator and his response time, let's say an incident occurs within 1 minute, he has to alert the supervisor or he has to call the police and inform. So his response time also will increase immediately, right? Okay, so here this is a chart which I made. If the detection time, he takes 2 seconds to detect, 2 seconds to identify, and 20 seconds to respond. All of this decision, if he has to decide within 60 seconds, within 1 minute, if he has to decide all of this, he can technically he can only look at 10 types of scenes. Okay, if his detection time is eliminated, see the last row, if the detection time is eliminated, okay, the amount of monitors that he can see doubles. So with the help of analytics, the same operator can if he's viewing 10 monitors, he can actually see up to 20. If he's viewing 10 scenes, he can actually see double, because uh, roughly speaking, the detection time is eliminated. That helps the operator to spend more time for viewing other incidents. All right, so this Excel sheet is basically a calculation and a formula that is used to identify how many scenes each person can see. Next, how do you place the monitor? Now there is a vision. This is something you can refer online as well, but let me explain to you. There is something called the near central vision, near peripheral, mid peripheral, and far peripheral. Okay, central vision is, you should always keep the critical monitors exactly in front of the operator, which requires his attention all the time, should be right in front of him. It's like your laptop is in front of you, and then you have a side monitor. The side monitor is your supporting monitor, right? Same way in the CCTV as well. Lesser critical cameras should be kept on the side. Okay, then there is the far peripheral, for which means he has to turn his head to view those monitors. Okay, mid peripheral, near peripheral, he may not have to actually move his head, only his eyes will move. But when it is far peripheral, he has to actually move his head, which is not going to happen often. So when you have monitors on these location away from the operator, those monitors should have some kind of notification. It should pop up, it should give a sound. So when there is an alarm, it will take the attention of the operator to look at that monitor. So if your monitor is directly in front, okay, he's looking at it. But if the monitors are away from the operator, they should have some kind of alarm, sound notification, or a pop-up notification to get the attention of the operator. And they should not be the critical monitors. Okay. Next is a 4K monitor. Sometimes people in CCTV, they try to justify and say if you use a 4K monitor, we can see more cameras and so on. Okay, now I'm going to give you a live visual example. uh, you can see here in the Excel sheet, imagine this is the pixel. Digital image is a number of pixels, right? 1920 means 1090 pixels horizontally, and so on. So pixel 1, pixel 2. Okay, and this monitor size is let's say 24-inch, or for your example you can take 40-inch. Okay, I am having a 24-inch, and let's say imagine this is a 40-inch. Okay, 2 pixels. Now you can clearly see 2 pixels separately. Okay, now within the same 40-inch, okay, right now it is full HD, which is 1920 by 1080 pixels, which is again equal to 2 million pixels. If you change to 4K monitor, 4K monitor is what? 8 million pixels. And the monitor size is still same, 40-inch. So within the same 40-inch, now you're cramping 4 times more pixel. Now this is how it will look like. When I zoom out, can you see the difference between those two yellow uh, yellow blocks? No. So this is exactly how it will look for the operator. Just because you increase to 4K monitor does not mean he can, of course he can see more, but as an operator, he cannot detect if any incident occurred because it's too cramped. Okay. So that's why whenever you use a 4K monitor, the person has to sit very close to the distance. You see the 4K monitor, the distance between the operator to the monitor will reduce by half. And it is also practically impossible for a person to sit so close to the monitor. So in CCTV, still full HD monitors are very commonly used. Okay, you don't have to fight and say, you can buy a 4K, but practically speaking, it requires a lot of effort from the operator to sit very close. When he sits very close, it hurts the eye. Um, the what's the word for that? Okay, I missed the word, but yeah. So the number of monitors that he can see also will drastically reduce. All right. So yeah, the word is ergonomic. Yeah, I was just looking for the word. When the person sits very close to the monitor, uh, the ergonomics also will get disturbed. He cannot monitor for a long time sitting very close to a monitor. Okay. If there are any questions, let me know. I'm online. Why is there need to sit very close? Okay, so I was just explaining this. When you use a 4K monitor, the operator has to detect the. So you see this example. Where is this? Go back. Okay, imagine this is person one. Person. There is two people walking. All right. If it is a full HD monitor, the objects look bigger on the screen, and you can clearly see two people. When you use 4K monitor for the same size of 40 inch, 8 million pixels, so the objects will become smaller in the screen. It will become smaller. Now the operator may miss it. Okay, this is why he has to sit closer so he can clearly see, okay, there are two people walking that can cause intrusion or there can be a suspect and so on. I hope you got it. Okay, now I wanted to cover one topic before we close. Camera types. Let me pull that out. Camera types. All right. For every application, there is a camera type for it. If you need a very good aesthetically pleasing cameras, there are small microdome cameras available. Then if you need cameras for long range monitoring, you would also require a box type camera or a bullet camera with a bigger lens capacity. Even the big lens now comes in a dome, but the dome size will be slightly bigger, maybe 5 centimeter bigger. Okay. If you want to mount the cameras on the cars, vehicles, you have an extreme um, scratch resistant, more waterproof protection based cameras available, wedge based, more vandal resistant also. Then if you have cameras on the resorts, food factories, you have stainless steel cameras. Then uh, today, earlier we saw fisheye cameras. They are mounted on the ceiling, they give you 360 view. Then you have pinhole cameras. These are hidden cameras where you will install inside the ATM machine to look at the user to capture if there is an incident, whether, sometimes they say we didn't take the cash, we didn't get the cash from the machine. So all this is recorded by the ATM cameras. Okay. Now, then there are also multi-sensor cameras. Most of the cameras that you saw here, they have only one lens, but you can also have cameras with multiple lenses in one body. What is the benefit? As you will install just one time, but you have access to four cameras, and each of the four cameras can be looking at different directions, and independently you can adjust the lens, independently you can have different analytics running, independently you can zoom in, zoom out each of them separately. But the benefit is single cable, And you in terms of installation and mounting and network port, you just need one. Okay, one time effort. All right. And also if you require license with some VMS, they also need only one license per camera. So it's beneficial in many ways. Of course, there is also the downside. If one cable gets cut, all four cameras become offline. Okay. Now the types of multi-sensor cameras are panoramic, four cameras, they stitch and give you a single image. Then you have uh, multi-direction, four cameras looking at four different directions, but it is mounted on a single pole. Think of this way: in street surveillance, it's so much better to have these multi-sensor cameras because you want to look at all directions, 360-degree surveillance, and reduce the cost for cable pulling, mounting the pole, and managing them in the long term. All of this can reduce by 4 times if you just use a multi-sensor camera. Okay. Then you also have five sensor. Five sensor is four sensor plus one pan tilt zoom camera. So that means if there is any incident, you're already having 360 view, and when there is an incident, the PTZ camera can zoom to that location and show you what's going on. Ideal for city surveillance as well. Okay, then you have dual direction cameras. All these are can be considered for reducing your cost of installation. And also these are different camera types. Next, when you take any vendor, 10-year back, it was just like your mobile phones. When we switched to color phones and when we switched to camera phones, it was a race for megapixel. My camera can do 4, your camera can do 8, his camera can do 16 megapixel. So it was a race to megapixel. Similarly, in CCTV, that trend used to be there a couple of years back, but today that does not exist. Megapixel is not your consideration. Now, this, if you're not aware of, you can be fooled easily uh, because let's say this way, uh, a vendor can have the categorization of products is based on the analytic capability of the camera or the processor inside the camera or the features inside the camera, not only resolution. So he might have category A, entry level. He might have category B, mid range. He might have category C, premium range. Okay. Let's say 10-year back, premium range was only for 4K cameras. But today, even in entry range, you might find a 4K camera, but the image quality may not be great, but the number of analytics may be lower. So you have to be careful when someone tells you, okay, let's say we are giving you 4K camera. Okay, so uh, okay, let's say your project is saying you have written a specification for only 2 megapixel, and you have put all the analytics and all the requirements that you require, you have mentioned it. Now another vendor comes and tells you, I will give you 4 megapixel camera, but he's playing around with the specification of other points. That means he's compromising on this processor and the image quality and IR range and those kind of things is compromising. But don't just fall for megapixel. That's my point. Okay, you might have a basic camera also with a 4 megapixel or 8 4K, but that does not define that the camera is high end. The high end is defined by number of analytics, the WDR capability, special lenses, the environmental protection. Those things also must be considered, not only resolution. Again, let me remind you, uh, just because megapixel is higher does not make that particular camera premium. It is okay, high resolution, that's it. But premium should be an overall, an entry level camera sometimes may not have a better cybersecurity also. They might even buy it from somewhere else and sell it to you. So we've seen this in other products, and uh, customers are not able to understand because they have this mindset, okay, I am getting a 4 mega and you are giving me 2 mega, and But sadly, later on after they purchase, they find out so many features are missing. What is actually needed for security purpose? Okay, so don't fall for the megapixel race. The vendor categorization today is purely based on the feature, the processing capacity of the uh, camera. Okay, the chipset in the camera, the number of analytics in the camera, the capability of the camera. That is where the main thing is. Okay, the lens. Um, think of this way: a 4K lens is quite expensive to develop. Okay, and if someone tells you it's a 4K camera, maybe the lens is not even 4K, just the resolution. They will try to give a 4K sensor, but the lens may be a 2 megapixel. To reduce the cost, they might play around with that. We have seen this a lot in certain vendors, so try to be careful on this when you fall for the megapixel. Okay. All right, and okay, so let's summarize what we've learned so far. We talked about vendor global ranking. How do you identify a vendor? We talked about the different lighting conditions, WDR, IR, low light. So, and then today we talked about camera types. Then there is we talked about the lens types: fixed lens, varifocal lens, zoom lens. And then the next day we considered um, the next day we talked about uh, uh, so door standard detection, recognition, identification. We learned about it. Yesterday we covered again about body percentage. Then we heard about highlight compensation technology. Then other than that, we covered analytics, deep learning, machine learning, on-WIF. We studied that. Then we saw recorders. We saw NVR, VMS, DAS, NAS, SAN. We covered a little bit on cybersecurity, and then we touched on the RAID system. Today we had an overview of VMS system, then control room design, number of monitors estimation, and what is the purpose of video wall. We covered all of that today. Okay, and yeah, one of the attendee also shared an information which I thought you could benefit from. Um, there are ways where the hackers purchase from the dark web. I think that some of you may know already, where they can buy passwords, hacked passwords, okay, stolen passwords, like stolen credit cards, username and passwords. So this kind of hacking is, maybe they are not a hacker, they can buy it from someone, and it is called as credential stuffing. Okay, stuffing, credential stuffing. Basic credential means username and password. Okay, that's something you can keep in mind also for your reference. All right, so that brings us to this end of today's session. Uh, the quiz will be based on the topics covered today and till now, right now, what I covered, nothing more. But I'll be online to cover any further questions, to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you so much for your participation in the last 4 days, and feel free to get in touch with me for any further questions that you may have.